Hi, I'm Mr. West, Rossett's most stylish, and today I'm giving you a rough plan and some advice for question 4 of the paper. Okay, so it's the 24 marker. In the years from 1933 to 1939, there was support from all sections of German society towards the Nazi regime. Now, what I'd like you to do with this is, if it's a question that you've done, have a look and see if you can come up with some improvements. If it's the question that you haven't done, I'd like you to actually go on to Poplar or using like just mind mapping on paper. I'd like you to produce a plan for an answer to this. And what I've provided here is some general advice and then an infrastructure to allow you to kind of build your plan around. So first of all, introduction. It's difficult to know what motivated people to conform. Okay, just because people actually behaved and did what the Nazis wanted doesn't mean they supported them. Okay, it could have been the terror or something like that, which leads us in then. In defining support, I'm going to use Joseph Goebbels' definition that it was not enough for people to be more or less reconciled to the regime. They had to believe in it. Okay, and that opens up then this idea of support or lack of support. In terms of support, I've picked out 3 areas: the peasants, the young, and the workers. Okay, how did they support the regime, to what extent, and different things. Obviously, with this, it's not a question just on peasants, on workers, or youth. So you're looking just for the issues of support and the key facts around that, not necessarily just to bang on about peasants because you haven't got the time and you're not linking it directly to the question. Okay, obviously, at the end of each section or throughout, you should be trying to talk about support. Then we move over to the lack of support. I've put in there loyal reluctance. Remember, that's where you support the regime, but you take an issue with a non-political issue, with a certain aspect of this. Clearly, the churches are involved in that, but ordinary, everyday people stooping into doorways to escape having to give the Heil Hitler salute, or certain issues there. That's the case. Remember, though, you might say, well, that's not effective opposition, stooping into doorways or whatever. But this isn't about opposition, it's about support. And using Goebbels' definition, it therefore is. What about political? I mean, ultimately, they had a bit of a shocker. Really, to put it mildly. But what happened there, the fact they were rounded up, there was some lack of support, but it was dealt with pretty quickly. And then the churches as well, which tended to just oppose on one area. But again, Catholic and Protestant, early doors, Catholics obviously had a lot of support for the regime, signed the Concordat. But then as the Nazis tried to remove the influence of churches through the church secession campaign, you've got the papal encyclical as an example there, whereas the Protestants are tend to be more complicit and more supportive of the regime throughout. Okay, so again, dividing it like that, and then into the conclusion, I made 3 points. I'll link it to the introduction. Obviously, if you've said about Goebbels and his support, or his view of what support means, you must bring it in here. Okay. We've got lots of examples of loyal reluctance, but not necessarily opposition. But that said, don't pin yourself to a wall and say that there was complete support. I would suggest that after August 34, the support within Germany was widespread, but never complete. Okay, always to a large extent. Now, you don't have to do it how I have. You can set it out in your own way. You can say, well, I want to make this point. That's perfectly legitimate. But what I would say is use this as a guide, see the general advice I've got, and produce a mind map of how you would answer this question. Obviously, if you have answered the question, what have I said there that makes you think differently? How could you improve your current answer? Thank you.